My name is Rachael Shea, and by day, I'm a librarian. By night, I have a superhero secret identity that I kept away from the world for a long time. And this is the story of how those two worlds collided, and I had to go public. On May 13th of 2012, I came to the Clark University graduation ceremony, and it was a lovely day. On May 14th, 2012, I walked into work. I parked where I always did. I walked into the library, and on my way in, I noticed number of trees, 16 trees had been cut down somewhere between Sunday and Monday morning. All the evidence of the trees had been removed, and I was shocked. I was really shocked. I wasn't alone in that. And so Physical Plant felt that it would be a good idea to have a meeting and speak about what had happened. So they did. They called us together and they were explaining, you knew this project was going to happen. You knew that we were going to have to make some changes. And although they had never been explicit about the trees coming down, they had given us a general sense of what was happening. And other than being a little more conscientious than some people, in terms of reduce, reuse, recycle, they were perfectly normal. So as I was sitting there listening to this very sensible explanation of what had happened, unbidden, my focus suddenly shifted from the room where I was sitting to outdoors. And where the trees had been, there was this empty space, and I suddenly could hear only in the background of the room I was in, I could hear the people speaking, and it sounded like wah, 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 like Peanuts, adult stuff. What I could hear distinctly and really painfully so was the keening and the wailing and the grief of the trees that were left standing, and the fear. These people I've known for 100 years have just been cut down. What's going to happen to me? Am I next? And the pain was so great that I was beside myself. And I went, what's wrong with these people? How can they be talking like it's okay when there's so much hurt and pain right out there? Why are they behaving like this? Can't they hear those trees? Don't they know that those trees are important to us, that we need them to live? And in the moment of that silence that followed, I realized that I could hear the trees, but they couldn't. I had spent 12 years doing pilgrimage in the Huichol tradition. So I fasted and took long walks at sacred sites. I slept outside once a month under the stars without a tent, no matter what the weather, for 12 years. And that time had changed me. So that meant I could hear the trees and these people couldn't. So when I got angry and said, this university, this place where sustainability has been a conversation much longer than almost any other school I've ever encountered, why are we not teaching our students to hear the trees, to form relationships with nature, to be out there and part of it? It was because I could hear it and the other people couldn't. So I started a course called Sustainability in the Sacred, which I teach every semester, and it's a great joy to me. And I'm going to ask you, and my son has said, that sustainability means nothing anymore. It's used so indiscriminately it has no meaning. So I'm going to ask you to spend a moment and say, what does sustainability mean to you? I'll explain what it means to me by way of describing my course. So in my course, the first thing that people do is they have to keep a gratitude journal. And that means they need to write down every single day something for which they're grateful. And the writing down is very significant because for reasons I can't explain, people discover that there are certain patterns to what they write. And they begin to see things about themselves. What's important to them? What matters to me? And from that, you begin to learn what your gifts are, what you're here to do for all of us. Because one of the things that your ancestors knew is you were here for a reason. And what you were born with, the gifts that you were given, are here to be manifested, and they're very vital for all of us. So let me give you an example of a student in my class. And he was, a stellar academician. He could write well and speak well and very critical thinking kind of guy, very perfect scholar. And at the end, when he was doing his final report, he had a certain one in mind. But in the 11th hour, as he went through his gratitude journal, he realized what he wrote about more often than anything else was slacklining. Slacklining is when people take webbing that's about 1.5 inches wide and they sling it between two trees. And then you walk on it, forwards, backwards. He could go up, he could go down, he could run, he could dance, he could move. He was unbelievable. And this was right out in front of Main Street with the cars going and honking and people walking and talking. And he was walking on this little webbing, and I tried it. Let me tell you, I was like this the whole time, even with help. It's very, very hard to do. And as he thought about why slacklining mattered to him, he thought, he's got a good, strong body, and he liked that. He liked to keep himself strong. It was a healthy body. He could focus. He could concentrate. He could do what needed to be done no matter what the world spinning around him was doing. He could stay on what he needed to be doing. And those gifts, and I call them the mouse or the ant gift because, his scholarly skills were his more obvious lion or bear gift, but these mouse or ant gifts that are a little harder to name, a little harder to get your hands around, those are the ones that serve him so beautifully in what he does now for making life choices. And he continues to keep a gratitude journal to this day. So the first thing, as I say, is keeping a gratitude journal. That's the first thing we have my students do. The second thing I have our students do is we look at community, exchange, and relationship. And that's a little harder to look at. Those 3 words are the words I have to use in English to cover what I mean by community. And this, your ancestors knew also was significant. Your ancestors knew that the trees outside were what kept them alive. They knew that they needed the trees for the soil or to bring in the winds that brought in the rain that grew the crops that fed the people, that maybe were markers that may eventually have been built into a home or that became firewood. Your ancestors knew that they needed a relationship with all of the beings around them because they knew all that they had, all that they could use was right outside there in front of them. And they better understand it, and they better pay attention, and they better find a balance with it. And one of the beautiful balances in when it comes to exchange and relationship with nature is gratitude. So we come back again to gratitude. So I invite you to think about thanking the trees and being out there present with all of nature, with the rain, with the wind, with the soil. Your very lives depend on it. And the way we work with community in our class is to get a balance of our gifts and nature and working together and understanding that for which we need to be grateful. Now, you might wonder what any of this has to do with being a librarian. A lot of people presume that librarians are all about the books. So if we were about the books, would we let you take them out, home, maybe drop them in a puddle or let the dog chew them and lose them under the bed for 9 months and then discover them? Oh, and then bring it back. No, what we're about is community. Librarians build community. We're the community makers. So we try to have a sufficient relationship with our community to say, what might somebody need? Do they need books? If they need books, do they need audio, electronic, paper? Do they need magazines, scholarly journals, computers, rooms, space, heat, light? What do people need? And in this way, we try to offer to our community that which can draw them together and to share. And the exchange piece, if you take a book out, you return it, somebody else takes it out and returns it. We share space, we share computers, we share all manner of things. And so I invite you to find your way to a community. If you have one already, that's wonderful. But if you don't have a community where there's exchange and relationship, I invite you to look for that. And you can begin in a library if that's a place that's suitable for you. So let me go over some of the things that I invite you to try. One is to keep a gratitude journal. And related to that, I invite you to spend 1 week doing away with all negative self-talk. That will help your gratitude be that much stronger and the gifts that you bring to the world that much stronger. The second thing is to explore community, exchange, and relationship. And you can begin in a library, working with your own species. And after you get a little touch of that and feel comfortable, I invite you to go outdoors and try hugging a tree, thanking a tree. We need them. We need them more than they need us. And remember always gratitude. I have some gratitude to give. The reason I can offer this course is I was in a good enough relationship with Joanne DeMora that when it came time for me to ask, could I offer this course? She took a chance on me doing this very unusual thing, and she said yes. Now, the exchange is I fill my classes every semester, and then she can do her work, which is to organize and people and buildings and registrations and all of that. So she gets to do her work, and I get to do my work. My work is to teach, and I adore teaching. I love it. And I am so honored that I can do this. And I couldn't do it if students didn't take my class. And so I honor you, and I thank you for taking my class, for coming on that journey with me as long as you can come with me. Some, it's just a little while. Others, it's much longer. And I bow deeply and thank my students for coming and listening and helping me do my work. And I pray that each of you then goes out and you work on your work, your gifts. I have a relationship with the physical plant people who have to support me because a lot of what I do is outdoors. And so they make it so that I can do the work outdoors that I need to do. And it's so beautiful. In exchange, the students now pay much more attention to the trees and the work that the physical plant does to keep our campus lovely. I end up needing to work with the police because some of the things I do are unusual, and it's better that somebody know ahead of time that I'm doing them. And they are completely supportive as well. So I have managed to find a community on this university to support all the unusual things that I do. You would be amazed at how beautiful your life can be if you work in this way towards community. So I urge you to do that. And I will end by thanking, first off, my beautiful children, who are always my inspiration for everything I do. I thank Mary Hartman and Mr. Mahoney, two of the finest librarians that ever walked the earth. I thank my teachers, Rags and his teacher, Joe Eagle Elk, Waviakame and his teacher, Don Lupe. I thank Tate Wari, Tate Amito, Tate Haramara. I thank our Mother Earth, north, east, south, west, and the above. And I thank all of you for coming.